What would you do if the company you trusted betrayed you and threatened your child's future? Maria's world was turned upside down when a shocking encounter with her boss revealed the ugly truth behind the corporate facade. Maria had always been the quiet strength of the office. Every morning she showed up early, made the rounds cleaning up after the busy executives, and kept to herself. She had dreams, just like everyone else, of a better life for her son, a safer world where he wouldn't face the same struggles she'd endured. But today, something felt different. As she finished wiping down the last conference room table, a chill ran through her. Her son, Tim, had been acting strange lately. His calls were shorter, his messages less frequent. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. She had no idea, though, just how quickly her world was about to unravel. Maria had just finished her shift when she saw it. Her son, Tim, was standing by the car in the parking lot looking anxious. She hadn't seen him this way in months. "Tim, what's going on?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. But his eyes were wide, filled with fear. He shook his head, his hands trembling as he grabbed her arm. "Mom, don't get in the car. I saw them watching you. They've been following you." Maria's heart dropped. She turned, scanning the lot, her breath caught in her throat. Sure enough, a dark sedan was parked a few rows over, the engine running. She didn't recognize the car, but the way it stood there, unmoving, felt wrong. She felt a cold sweat running down her spine. She had no idea what was happening, but Tim's face told her everything she needed to know. Something was very, very wrong. Tim's voice cracked with fear. It's Mr. Collins. I saw him in the parking lot earlier today. He's been watching you." Maria's mind raced. Collins? But he was supposed to be one of the good ones. The ones who championed diversity, who always said the right things. But now, as her son's warning echoed in her mind, everything about the situation felt off. She turned to leave, but the car's headlights flashed, blinding her. She squinted, trying to make out who was inside. Then the door opened. A tall man in a suit stepped out, his face partially obscured by the shadows. But even in the dim light, Maria recognized him. It was Collins. "Mom, please," Tim's voice cracked with fear. "We need to leave now." But Maria couldn't move. She was frozen in place. Collins was walking toward her, slow and deliberate. She could feel the weight of his gaze even from a distance. Why was he coming for her? What did he want? "Miss Ramirez," Collins's voice was smooth now, like a rehearsed script, but there was something in his tone that felt off. "You've been doing excellent work. We appreciate your dedication. You're a valuable asset to the company." Her heart pounded as she forced herself to smile. "Thank you, Mr. Collins, but I really should—" Before she could finish, he interrupted. "Actually, there's something we need to discuss," he said, his voice lowering, almost menacing. "Follow me. There's an issue I need you to help with." Her gut screamed to run, but she couldn't. The fear in Tim's eyes, the way Collins was staring at her, it all felt like a trap. Then, as if reading her mind, Collins added, "I think you'll want to hear this, Miss Ramirez. It's about your son." The words hit her like a punch to the chest. Her eyes snapped to Tim, who was shaking his head frantically. But Maria couldn't turn away. She was caught. And she had no idea what kind of nightmare she was about to walk into. Collins stepped closer, his shoes clicking sharply against the pavement. Maria could feel her chest tightening, her breath shallow. Everything inside her screamed to run, but her legs wouldn't move. She couldn't look away from him, the man who was supposed to be the face of the company that prided itself on inclusivity and fairness. "You don't understand, do you, Maria?" His voice was cold now, and the smile he had been wearing faded. "This isn't about you. This is about control. You've been here too long, and the time has come for you to make a choice." Her heart raced. What was he talking about? The tension in the air felt suffocating. "What do you mean?" Her voice barely came out as a whisper, but she didn't have to say anything more. Collins reached into his jacket and pulled out a folder, thick, official-looking, and slammed it onto the car's hood. The folder was marked with bold red letters, "Confidential." "It's your son. He's causing problems. He's been speaking up, asking too many questions, digging too deep into things he shouldn't. And now, I need you to fix it. You're going to help us handle this, or your son's future is going to look very different." His words were deliberate, calculated. Maria's stomach dropped. It felt like everything she'd worked for, everything she'd hoped for, was slipping through her fingers. Tim had been right. This was a trap. She took a step back, her mind racing. You can't do that," she stammered. "He's just a kid. He hasn't done anything wrong." Collins chuckled darkly. "You're too naive, Maria. You've been working in the shadows for too long to see the bigger picture. Do you think your job here, your son's future, that's all on your terms?" The words hung in the air, cold and final. Maria felt the blood rush from her head, a wave of helplessness crashing over her. This wasn't just a moment of fear. This was her life, her son's life, her entire future being torn apart in front of her. And just as she was about to speak, to plead for Tim's safety, Collins took one last step forward. His voice was low, but it held a menacing edge. "I suggest you make the right choice, Maria, before it's too late." The weight of his threat settled like a dark cloud, and for a moment, Maria wondered if there was any way out of this, or if it was already too late. Maria didn't have to make the choice. She couldn't. She walked away from Collins that night, her heart pounding, her hands shaking. She didn't know how she'd do it, but she knew she had to protect her son, no matter what. The next morning, she showed up at the office with a letter. Not an apology, not a resignation, but a declaration. She wasn't going to be complicit in a system that forced her to choose between her career and her son's safety. Collins never saw it coming. The company might have had the power, the money, the influence, but Maria had something stronger: truth. Her resignation hit the company like a storm, and as word spread, something shifted. People began to speak up, employees who had stayed silent for years, afraid to lose their jobs. The silence was finally broken. But Maria knew the battle wasn't over. She left the office with Tim, but the fight for justice had just begun. This wasn't just about one woman or one company. It was about a system that silences voices, that turns a blind eye to injustice. It was about every person who had ever felt powerless in the face of racism. Maria's courage sparked a movement, but it was just one small step in a much larger journey. The question is, how many more stories like hers will it take before we finally change the system? How many lives have to be shattered before the world acknowledges the truth? We all have a role to play. Will you remain silent, or will you stand up and make sure Maria's story isn't just another forgotten one? If you were moved by Maria's story, like, comment, and share. This isn't just a story, it's a call to action. Will you stand for justice?